finishing up to do. Man, oh man. Seems like it's been a long, like week and a half. Quite a bit has actually happened.
Turn right.
Try to get out of this parking lot here. I need my spare seat.
Turn left.
So I got the
and turn
numbers
right.
for last week that we need to recap, and we'll get to that in a little while. But let's talk about my last trip. So the last load I was on, y'all got to ride along with me
Turn
on,
right.
was from Louisiana over to Laredo. And before I went to Laredo, I've heard all the horror stories about Laredo. And I've been to Laredo with other companies multiple times too. But all these horror stories I saw basically don't do dropping hooks in Laredo, because there's a chance you'll lose your trailer. So before I took the load going to Laredo, I confirmed that it was a live unload, and then the load I booked coming out was a live load also, which I don't think that would have mattered, but the unload was the one I was concerned about.
Turn left, then take ramp left.
So I confirmed everything, and everything was all live unload, live loads. And the load I had booked coming out of Laredo was taking me up to Ardmore, Oklahoma. Would have put me home at a 10 a.m. Appointment time Friday.
Take ramp left.
So that would have put me about an hour and a half from the house. Could have easily been home for Memorial Weekend. No problems. So I get to Laredo and I get unloaded. It took a few hours, no problem, no big deal, because my reload appointment wasn't until in the afternoon. 1 o'clock to be specific.
Continue on route.
So I get unloaded, make my way over to my reload, and I'm there at like noon. And they inform me that they have to confirm the load with the customer, and the customer's at lunch from noon to 1. So I said, all right, well, I'm early. I'll go back to the truck, make me something to eat, kind of hang out for a little bit. So I do. She takes my phone number, tells me she'll call me. So I sat there, and at about 1:45, I was like, all right, I've sat here long enough. Like, I need to go find out what's going on. So I make my way back up there, and she informs me that she still hadn't heard back. I was like, well, this thing's got a 10 a.m. appointment time on it. Like, we're gonna mess around and put ourselves in a situation where that can't be made. And she says, yeah, I'll call them. I'll call them personally right now. I said, all right. So I make my way back to my truck. I go sit down in my truck for a few minutes. I say a few minutes, it's probably 30 minutes or so, 45 minutes. I don't remember what time it was now, but anyway, she finally calls me back. doesn't have the product in their warehouse, that the product is in another warehouse on the other side of Laredo. So this deal is turning out to be a crap show already. Like, it's just, I'm like, man. So I let the agent know. I'm like, hey, this was not part of the deal. Granted, it's only 10 miles away, but with traffic, it's like 35 minutes. You know, I've done sat here. Now I've got to go over there. You know, there's going to be extra time. There's going to be extra miles. You know, and now we're getting into the situation where a 10 a.m. appointment time ain't going to work. So the agent messages me back, wants to know, like, what do I want for my time, you know. And I messaged him back, you know, I told him, you know, what I wanted, but I told him my biggest concern was the appointment time on the other end. Messages me back, says that's not a problem, we can change it, no big deal, we'll get it moved. Once you get loaded, we'll reschedule it. So I said, all right. So I make my way over to the other location, takes a couple hours to get loaded. Well, and by this time, I want to say it's pushing 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So I know now that, like, if I wanted to, I could drive a couple hours and then park up and then do a 10-hour break. But I decided to go ahead and just make my way to the truck stop, do a 10-hour break, and get on the road at 3 in the morning. That way I could at least get through San Antonio, you know, Austin, Waco, you know, get through a couple of them towns early enough that I ain't got to deal with traffic. And so that's what I do. I park up, I do a 10-hour break to the exact minute, and I take off. While I'm en route, I have the agent has contacted me, and the agent's customer basically contacts me multiple times, wants to know an ETA, so that way they can let the receiver know. And I told them multiple times, you know, that I thought it was going to be 1 or 2 o'clock. So I get to Ardmore at 12:45, and this customer has me whip a Yui and leave because I am late for my appointment. Will not let me on the property. So now here I am, Friday afternoon before Memorial Weekend, back and forth with the agent, trying to figure out how we can work this out. And needless to say, as time is ticking away, my weekend plans are going to crap. So the agent wasn't able to reschedule the delivery appointment until Sunday morning. So, smack dab in the middle of the weekend. And then the agent wanted to ask me, he says, well, what do you want for layover? And I straight told him, I said, it ain't about the money. Like, there ain't no money. They can't pay me enough to account for my time or my runt weekend. You know, fortunately for me, I didn't have something, you know, didn't have a cabin rented. Say I had a cabin booked, I would have been out all that money, because at that moment in time, if I would have canceled that reservation, I would have lost everything. Fortunately for me, like I said, I didn't have something like that booked, but it could have happened. But still yet, my plans are shot now, because I now have to be back in Ardmore to deliver this load at 9 a.m. Needless to say, I did get some layover pay, but it wasn't, you know, they're never going to pay you enough. You know, your time is worth way more than what they're willing to pay you. It was just frustrating. It was very frustrating. And I know a lot of people's going to say, oh, you know, you shouldn't go to Laredo. You shouldn't go to Laredo. And I get that, like, and the thing was, is I immediately, just as soon as they told me they didn't have product, I started looking for something else. But the problem was, is now I'm sitting here in Laredo at this very moment in time needing a load to get me home. And there was nothing. Unless I wanted to sit till the weekend or after the weekend, but that didn't get me home in time. So it's almost like you're kind of backed into a corner, and it's like you got to make it work no matter what now, you know. So I have a tendency to go to Laredo about twice a year, it seems like, and it doesn't matter what company I pull for. But it seems like every time I go there, I leave there regretting going there. And I don't know why that is. Like, it just seems like the whole town down there is just a crap show. Like, it's just, that was like the 10 miles. The 10 miles to go to the other shipper, or to the other warehouse to get loaded. And it was like a 35-minute drive. And the reason why it was a 35-minute drive is because that town is full of trucks that are just barely running, that are barely, like, they shouldn't even be on the road. But in two different intersections, there was a truck broke down blocking a four-way intersection, a major intersection at that. And what was interesting about it is in both intersections, you got people are just doing whatever to get around these trucks, and there is zero police enforcement there directing traffic at either one of them. But you got all these trucks that some of them shouldn't even be on the road, driving like madmen, you know. I always use the term driving like a pissed off teenager. But that's almost everybody down there is like that. It's like everybody is in such a big goddamn hurry. Like, I'll give you, for instance, while I'm on my way to that second warehouse, I'm driving down this street and I'm trying to make sure I don't miss my spot to turn into this warehouse. So, you know, I'm probably driving 20 or 25 mile an hour. Now, the speed limit on that road was, I think, 35 mile an hour or something like that. But anyway, I'm clearly looking for my place to turn in. So the truck behind me decides he's going to pass me because I'm not going fast enough. Well, the truck behind him decides he's not going fast enough either. I now have two trucks passing me. We're three wide on this little freaking industrial road because everybody's in such a goddamn hurry. Like, just a cluster down there. I think there's more 18-wheelers than there are 4-wheelers down there. Now, I don't know how accurate that statement is, but I honestly feel that way. You get down there, there's trucks everywhere. It's just a huge cluster. So anyway, that's how my trip to Laredo went. So my last load of last week went to Laredo, and then came out of Laredo, went to Ardmore. I say last load, last 2 loads, I guess. I had a load from Louisiana to Laredo, and then Laredo to Ardmore to get me home. Oh, this guy's puppy dog's running out by the... Okay. We're working on a new week now, though. And we'll have to crunch last week's numbers. But I also want to address that too. That's another thing. While I'm sitting here talking about it on a whole nother subject. I don't know how many of y'all follow me on a regular basis. But if you do follow me on a regular basis, you might have noticed I have not ran a full week since I've been over here at Landstar. I've been home every weekend. I've only been running like a full 5 days has been my max. Like, if you break it down. But generally, I'm leaving the house and I'm back in about 4.5 days. Taking about 2.5 days off. So a lot of people see my numbers and they think, man, like, you can do better elsewhere, this and that. And I might be able to do better elsewhere, but you can't. I don't look at my numbers and think, man, that's all I did this week. No, that's all I did in 4 days. You know, that's not. Like I said, I haven't ran a full week, not yet. A couple of weeks I've left the house on Tuesday and been home by Friday afternoon. Making in 4 days is about what I expect to make in 4 days. You know, I got buddies of mine that call me a part-time truck driver here lately. That's kind of how I feel. Like, when you're only out here running 4 days, you're not really hitting it 100%. So you can't expect to make those better weeks, you know, to have those higher numbers when you're only running 4 days. You know, so I had a lot going on around the house. I had things that I had to be home for. So put me in a position where I couldn't come out and run a full 7 days and keep running. But we're out here now. many days it is now. I believe it's a full 2 weeks this time out. I'm gonna run till Father's Day weekend. And I'm gonna go home for that weekend. And then I'll come back out and I'll run till I decide to go home for 4th of July. So we might actually have a couple pretty decent weeks. That's yet to be determined, but we'll find out. We'll see how well I can do over the next couple of weeks. So that's all I gotta say. That's how my experience was going to Laredo this time. We got another story to follow up on that, but we'll do that on another video. So yeah, y'all hang around and we'll get to the, we'll crunch some numbers. See how I did. Well, all right. Let's wrap this up with the numbers from last week. I know I'm a little behind, but we're going to get caught up and we're going to stay caught up. So, last week, I started out, let's see, where did I end up at? So the prior week, I finished up in Early, Texas. That was where I delivered the last load to. So from Early, Texas, I deadheaded over to Roanoke, Texas. Grabbed a load that weighed 30,000 pounds and took it down to Slidell, Louisiana. That load paid to the truck $1,462.81. Now from Slidell, I ran over to Plaquemine. I know I'm butchering it. I don't know how they pronounce it. Louisiana. Grabbed a load that weighed 43,000 pounds and took that load down to Laredo. That load paid $1,377.58. Now in Laredo, this is where all the headaches and all the BS started at. So I delivered in Laredo and then picked up in Laredo, and then, like I said, y'all have already heard the whole story about Laredo. It was a mess. But anyway, that load went to Ardmore. It weighed 7,000 pounds. It was a light load, with layover pay and the detention pay. The detention pay was a joke, but the layover pay, I mean, it was kind of a joke also, but it was definitely better than a poke in the eye. So To the truck, it paid $1,790. So, odometer miles for the week was 1,998 miles. Total revenue for the week was $4,630.39. That's a rate per mile of $2.31 a mile. And I ran 7.9 miles to the gallon last week. Or, yeah, the last week. So, that's where I ended up at in Ardmore the Friday before Memorial Weekend. Had full intentions on being home for Memorial Weekend and coming back out on Tuesday. So, that's not where the headaches ended at, but y'all will have to catch me on the next one because I'll talk about the second part of all of that. So yeah, but like always, if y'all are still here, I appreciate you. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be safe. Rubber side down, shiny side up, like always.